Like something very similar to this, but a bunch of like different variety of rose gold metallic shadows.
And so the search began, but after all these years, I still couldn't find the perfect rose gold palette. So I said,
fine, I'll do it myself.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. So as you can probably read from the title, today's video is a little bit different. You guys may know, if you have been watching me for a few years, that I absolutely love and adore rose gold eyeshadows. I prefer this over gold shadows, silver shadows. Something about rose gold just hits different. I've always hinted that I've always wanted to create my own rose gold palette, and I'm not saying that it hasn't been done before. We saw one from patootie that is absolutely stunning. Sigma Beauty also released a new one as well that's very rose gold vibe. So not saying that there isn't a rose gold palette on the market. I just kind of wanted to create the perfect rose gold palette for me personally. So I thought, why not go into my eyeshadow collection and create that palette for myself. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be taking you through some of my eyeshadow palettes. I'm going to be swatching some beautiful rose gold shadows, and we're going to select 9 shades to create a 9-pan palette. And then I'm going to be showing you 3 looks with this palette that I'm making. And if you guys have a name for this palette, that would be really fun. It is all just for fun. Again, not saying that this has not been done before. I'm sure there's a palette that probably looks exactly like the final 9 shades that I picked out. I'm sure that exists somewhere, but yeah, I just wanted to dive into my collection, use some palettes that I haven't used in a while, you know, just for fun, because makeup is fun. If you think my palette is not rose gold enough, that is completely fine. Just be nice about it. But you guys are always so nice to me, so. But yeah, I'm gonna take you through the final process. I'm even thinking of maybe making like a little mock-up of how it would look like in an actual pan, so that way you can see, you know, what it would look like if it was on the market, if a brand wants to collab with me. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the eyeshadow making process. So the first palette I thought about was the Dream Street palette. I've had this for many years. I absolutely adore this palette. And the shade specifically that I was thinking about is this one up in the corner called Twinkle. And I think this would be a nice mid-tone kind of color. Then I have my Give It To Me Straight palette. You guys know how much I love this palette. And the reason why is because there are some really good rosy-ish tones in here. So I was thinking either straight up or candid. This does have like a rose gold feel, but it's almost a little taupey. And then candid has more of like a coppery undertone. I do want to use downright maybe for like a transition shadow. That would be a really nice mauvey pink kind of color. Then coming from Blush Crush, I absolutely adore this palette as well. This has some good pinky tones, and rose gold sometimes can look a little pink, you know. So this one is called Pop a Bottle. This one's very pink. Maybe this one, Blossom Up. That is also very pink. So I have the Soft Glam palette from Anastasia, and I picked this palette because they have this shade here called Rose Pink, so I thought that was just so perfect for this video. And it is a nice rosy tone, but it has almost like a burgundy kind of color to it. But from the Norvina palette, she actually has a shade called Rose Gold, so I thought it could not get more perfect than that, but it doesn't really look rose gold, you know what I mean? Like, to me this is like almost brownish with a purple burgundy undertone, so I don't think it's really rose gold. Is it, guys? Is it rose gold? Like, to me that's not really rose gold. I wouldn't consider that rose gold. The original rose gold palette, Urban Decay Naked 3, of course I had to just dive into this a little bit, which I do think there are some good contenders in here. I haven't used this palette in so long. Let's take the shade Buzz. That is pulling a bit purple for me, like a little pinky mauve. But I do need a lighter inner corner highlight, so maybe one of these would be nice. This one? I think this one is nicer. This one is called Burnout. This would be a nice inner corner highlight. What do you guys think? Or maybe we can take this shade. I don't know. Another favorite palette of mine, the It's a Princess thing from Colourpop. I want to maybe take Grumpy as one of my transitions. I think this is a nice, like, although it's a little bit peachy, I think it would be a really good transition shadow. The shade here called Fairy Godmother. This one maybe is a little too pink. Yeah, that's a little too pink. And then I have the Smoke and Roses palette from Colourpop. Has roses in the title, so I thought we could find some good options here. I think this shade, this metallic Wild Side, is pretty good. That's pretty rosy gold. Going into my very own palette, Red Dragon from Odin's Eye. This is now discontinued, but I was thinking Overheat. Although it is more warm. Yeah, that's a little too warm actually. I don't know, but I think it would be a good complementary inner corner highlight. This is my latest palette that I purchased, the Too Faced Born This Way, the Natural Nudes. I think there's a lot of good contenders in this palette, which is probably why I love it so much. I think this would be a really nice matte. I've only used some of the shades in here, not all. Like these would be such, oh, this is perfect. I think I might go with the mattes in this palette actually, guys, because that is just so pretty. And this shade here, literally Rose Gold. It's called Rose Gold. I didn't even notice that actually. We are going to use this shade Rose Gold because I do think it's a good one. Yeah, guys, let's, oh, I didn't even realize the shade name was Rose Gold. That works out perfectly. So I think I might take these 3 shades in here. I have this Peach Quad from Colourpop in Creamsicle. I've never used this before, but I just fell in love with this palette and I think maybe this could be, that's pretty rose gold, right? This is the Venetian Rose palette from M Cosmetics. This would be a nice mid-tone color. Oh yes, that would be perfect. And I think this shade, so that one, this one was Venetian Rose. This shade is called Charm. This would be good as a deeper metallic. That's kind of what I'm looking for. And here we have the final 9 shades that I picked out for my personal rose gold eyeshadow palette. I made sure that there was dimension within the metallics and the mattes, and as you can see at the end here, I did add in a pressed glitter. I know not everyone loves glitters, but I personally do, and this is my personal rose gold palette. And actually a lot of the shades that I showed you guys I didn't end up adding in, so I will break down the shades one by one and give you a run through on why I picked out the shades I did. So the first shade comes from the Too Faced Natural Love eyeshadow palette in the shade Cutie Patootie, and I picked this to be the inner corner highlight, just the highlight metallic. I think this is very important to have in a palette, and it does have more of like a champagne rose kind of undertone to it, and I think it really gave some brightness to this palette, so that's why I picked this shade. The second shadow is from the Too Faced Born This Way, the Natural Nudes eyeshadow palette in the shade Petal, and I thought this was just a really pretty light pink transition shadow. I think it would complement the rose gold metallics perfectly, and it was a really nice light tone that I thought was just super pretty, so I added this one in. And the third shade is also from the same Too Faced Born This Way eyeshadow palette, and this is in the shade Rose Gold. I thought it just made a lot of sense for me to add this one in. This is going to be sort of the light to mid-tone metallic, so you can use this in the inner third. You also can use this as an inner corner highlight as well. It's not too dark. The next shade is from the M Cosmetics Divine Skies eyeshadow palette in Venetian Rose, and the shade is called Venetian Rose. This is going to be the mid-medium tone for our palette. So also from that same Venetian Rose eyeshadow palette, I took the shade Charm, and this one has more of like a burgundy undertone. Maybe you wouldn't consider this to be a rose gold, but I did want some depth in the metallics, and this one definitely is a bit deeper and it has a different undertone to it. The next shade is from Colourpop. It's from one of their quads called Sorbet. The shade name is called Drizzled, and this one, similar to Venetian Rose, is just a little bit deeper and darker. And the next shade is from another Colourpop palette. This is the You Had Me at Hello palette, which is an older palette. It was one of their first palettes they ever came out with years and years ago. But the shade is called Candygram, and I believe the shade, it might be a single shadow. This has the most like pinky undertone to it, but it has a really nice like sort of almost duochrome gold flip. So with that rosy undertone and the gold flip, it's like a rose gold eyeshadow in a sense. And I thought it was just like a different undertone from all of the other metallics that I put in here. And then for the last matte shadow, I got it from the Urban Decay Naked 3 palette in the shade Black Heart. I just had to take something from the Naked 3 because I feel like this was probably one of the first rose gold palettes we saw. So of course, knowing me, I really wanted to add something very, very dark in here. And this is just going to give the palette versatility. So it does have little rose gold sparkles in there. So I thought this would be the perfect shadow for this palette, right? And then for the last shade, if you know my style, you know I love pressed glitters. So of course, I just had to add one in just to complete my kind of makeup style. So this one is from Unleashia. It's from their Tap Me palette. It's in number 2 Groovy. The shade specifically is called Fuddle. And this one has more like orange glitters. I don't own a glitter that just has rose gold or just true gold. A lot of glitters are multi-dimensional, so you will see a bit of green, some blues, but this was the closest one that I felt like would complement this palette the most. Okay, so as you can tell, I did one eye off camera. This is going to be the first look. Yes, first look. This was not part of my initial plan, but I thought I would do 3 looks for you guys using this rose gold palette. But the first shade we're going to go into is Petal from the Too Faced Born This Way palette. It is such a nice like pinky peach color, and it's the perfect transition shadow. I love how this looks, and it does blend out really, really nicely. So I'm just gonna run that all over my lid and then slowly blend that up into my crease. I'm also just gonna run that all over my lower lash line. Next, going into the Venetian Rose palette from M Cosmetics, taking Venetian Rose. This is the mid-tone color for our eye look, so I'm gonna focus this at the outer corners of my eyes. And as you can see, the 2 shades just blend in so well. They complement each other perfectly. Like, they are really nice muted tones. So I'm just using more circular motions to get this blended out. Then I'm also gonna run a little bit of that onto my lower lash line, just at the outer corner here. Then taking the shade Drizzled from the Sorbet palette. This is slightly darker than Venetian Rose, so I'm just gonna focus it a little bit lower here at my outer corner and using it on a smaller brush to really get that definition. You can really see the depth, and this is a really nice way to just gradually build on color. I feel like if you don't add on this color specifically, it would look more rose toned. Now I'm going back into the Too Faced palette, taking the shade Rose Gold, applying this all over in my inner third on my lid space, and I'm gonna kind of swipe that up into my crease as well. This metallic shadow is definitely a little bit more sparse, where it has those pretty micro glitters that I really do like, but it's not gonna be like a foiled like metallic shadow. This rose gold shade is actually, it's actually rose gold. Like, they actually got that so spot on. It is so pretty. Then taking Cutie Patootie from the Too Faced Natural Love palette. I'm using it on this very, very tiny brush from Game Beauty EO5. It's been my favorite recently because it's so, so small. I'm gonna just work this at the inner third here on my lower lash line. This is such a good inner corner highlight. Like, it reflects silver, but it does have just a slight like pinky undertone. Like, it's a light pink champagne, so I just like to put it there. Now it's for glitter, taking the Unleashia palette. This is Fuddle. I'm placing the glitters right here, the lower lash line highlight, just making the glitters look very scattered. And then I'm also just gonna like run it like this ever so slightly, just tap above my crease. Now I'm going to line my lash line with my eyeliner, but we're going to go into the Naked 3 palette, taking Black Heart. I'm going to use that to smudge out this wing This almost does act as a black eyeshadow because it is very, very dark, which is perfect. But it's not like a complete matte black, you know? So here is the first look completed. Again, like I mentioned, that I wanted to do something that was just very my style. This is a look that I would just wear going out. It is very, very me, and I love the rose gold shadows. I'll put a few photos up that I took on my phone that I feel like show the true color a little bit better, and you can really see that gorgeous rose gold tones. I think these shadows are so beautiful together. So this is the first look. So starting off with our transition shadow from the Too Faced Born This Way palette in the shade Petal. This once again is going to be our transition, so I'm just going to sweep that all over my lid, and then I'll slowly blend that up into my crease. As you can tell here, I did take it all the way up, and this look actually was supposed to be more of like a natural makeup look, but kind of turned out a little bit glam, but that's okay. And then just taking that onto my lower lash line as well, just sweeping it all over. Then going into my ColourPop You Had Me at Hello, taking our sort of rose gold pink shade. This is Candygram, and I'm just going to place this at the center here first, and then pretty much sweep that all over our lids. This is not too much of an intense metallic. It could be because it's an old shadow, but it does have a nice sheen to it where it's not too foiled, that we can place it all over our lid. And then I'm also just going to take that onto my lower lash line here. Now I'm going into Venetian Rose, which is our mid-tone matte. I'm going to focus this just at the lash line at the outer corner here using swiping motions, and then taking a little bit into the outer V. Also gonna take a little bit of that into the inner third of my eyes. So we're gonna have a very like soft-ish halo eye. Then I'm gonna take my brown liquid liner to line my lash line. And then going into the Naked 3, taking Black Heart, which is our darkest matte. Using that to smudge out our wing. And I'm actually just going to take a little bit of our more mid to dark matte from the Sorbet palette, and I'm just going to use that to smudge at the inner corner here, and then also at the outer corner here, just to smudge that wing ever so slightly. Like you can see, it's just a little bit. And then the last step, of course, glitter. Taking the Unleashia glitter, I'm gonna place this at the center above my crease here. So when my eyes are open, you can just see the little twinkly specks of glitter. And I just like to pat it in so the glitters can really look scattered. And then I'm gonna also focus it on my lower lash line here, also just at the center. I forgot one more shade. We're going into our inner corner highlight, the lightest metallic, Cutie Patootie, just to brighten up our eyes. I took a little too much. Okay, so this is the second look using my little rose gold palette. I love how this turned out. I actually think maybe this would be my go-to look using this palette. It's a little bit more simple, which is what I like. I think it just looks a little bit more glam because I'm wearing heavier lashes, but I think this would be my go-to look, and it definitely screams more rose gold than the first look. So I love how this look turned out, so I hope you guys like it too. And finally onto the last look, going into the Venetian Rose palette, taking Venetian Rose, which was our mid-tone. I'm starting off with this shade, and I'm pretty much just gonna sweep that all over my lid because that is where I do want the most pigment to go. So we are just going to wash this all over our lids first. And I'm gonna wash that all over my lower lash line. Then going into Petal from the Too Faced palette, our transition shadow. I'm gonna just take this on a blending brush and work this at the outer corner. This will also just give us like a lighter pink, because this eye look definitely, I would say, it pulls a little bit more plum. Then going into Drizzled, our sort of deeper tone. This shade I'm gonna focus just mainly on my lid. mostly at the inner third here and then at the outer corner here. And I'm not going to take that one up too high. And I'm just using the same brush and I'm just going to slightly sweep that all over my lower lash line. Going back into the Venetian Rose palette, taking Charmed, which is our darkest metallic. I'm actually just going to place that right at the center of my eyes. This pairs really well with the matte shadows. I mean, it pairs well with the palette because everything is quite monochromatic. But I'm mainly just going to focus that at the center. And then I'll slightly blend that up. And then taking just a little bit onto my lower lash line at the center as well. Taking Cutie Patootie, which is our highlight shade. I'm going to place that right at the center just to further highlight and enhance that halo eye. And that's also going to go into our inner corners as well. Alright guys, so here we have the final look completed using my little rose gold palette. This look is a little bit deeper than the rest. It's a little bit more like sultry and sexy. I just love how it makes my brown eyes look, and that's why I just love rose gold and these tones, because it just complements my skin tone and my eye color really well. But I love how this look turned out, so I hope you guys like it too. Alright guys, so that was my rose gold custom 9-pan eyeshadow palette. Let me know what you guys think down below. If you guys have a palette name for this palette that I made, drop it down below as well. Maybe we can name this together. If you see another name that you like, give that comment a thumbs up and then I'll pin my favorite one and we can just collectively name this custom 9-pan eyeshadow palette. I had so much fun creating this palette. I did not think that I was going to be doing 3 looks. Let me know what you guys think of the video. Maybe we could do, I don't know what else we could do, because in every other color category I'm pretty happy. Like, there are a lot of red palettes that I love, a lot of green palettes that I love that I feel like don't really need any tweaking. It was just really rose gold for me. So if you guys have any suggestions of any other custom palettes you want me to make with my makeup collection, let me know. I think that would be so fun if we could make it into a series. But today was rose gold and I hope you guys enjoyed it, because I know a lot of you guys love rose gold as well. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I love you so much and I'll go ahead and see you guys in my next video. Bye!